Hello and welcome to the second part of Chapter 11, Personality Assessment and Overview. The objectives for this part are: identify the tools used in developing instruments to assess personality, and to define the importance of culture in personality assessment. But before that, let's meet first an assessment professional. Meet Dr. Rick Malone. He is an active duty military forensic psychiatrist, currently serving as a behavioral science officer with the U.S. Army Criminal Investigation Command. His work assignments include behavioral analysis of crime scene evidence, the conduct of psychological autopsies, and what will be discussed in the following slides, threat assessment. As its name implies, threat assessment may be defined as a process of identifying or evaluating entities, actions, or occurrences, whether natural or man-made, that have or indicate the potential to harm life, information, operations, and/or property. The practice of threat assessment can take many forms depending upon the setting in the organization's mission. In Dr. Malone's setting, the mission of threat assessment entails, among other things, the gathering of intelligence designed to protect Senior Department of Defense officials, referred to as principals. The tool of assessment that they rely on the most is called a Structured Professional Judgment, or SPJ. It is an approach that attempts to bridge the gap between actuarial and unstructured clinical approaches to risk assessment. Unstructured clinical approaches are based on the exercise of professional discretion and usually are justified according to the qualifications and experience of the professional who makes them. But given the variance that exists in terms of the qualifications and experience of the professionals making such judgments, SPJ as a tool is vulnerable to criticism on various psychometric grounds, such as questionable or unknown reliability and validity. And also, given the wide range of actions that may be launched as a result of such professional discretion, another issue relevant to it is accountability. In contrast to SPJ as the primary tool of assessment, an actuarial approach employs a fixed set of risk factors that are combined to produce a score. This score is used to gauge an individual's relative risk compared to our normative group. But one of the disadvantages of these strictly objective procedures is it prohibits the evaluator from considering unique, unusual, or context-specific variables that might need intervention. In threat assessment, they are often asked to assess the threat posed by a person who has demonstrated an inappropriate direction of interest toward one of their designated principals. Those individuals will come to their attention through attempt to communicate directly, or even the greater concern is when they approach directly or come in contact with one of the principals. Communication may contain anything from an outright threat to a complaint symptomatic of inappropriate or exaggerated anger or blame. With these informations or limited sources, they need to pick up or choose which communications warrant a response for formal investigation and what the level of that response should be. If the level of concern is high, a formal law enforcement investigation will be launched, but if the level of concern is below the threshold of triggering a formal investigation, they will simply continue to monitor the attempts of those individuals to communicate and related activities. Perhaps the best source of data for making inferences as to how dangerous persons of interest may be are the communications created by those persons themselves. Notes, electronic or social media postings, and other communications frequently contain relevant personal details about a person that could be a source of information about them. Threat assessment is both an art and a science. It requires the ability to know how to use evidence-based risk factors and to integrate them with relevant insights from the individual narrative. Effective assessment and mitigation of threat further requires the ability to work as a part of a multidisciplinary team with a diverse group of professionals such as law enforcement officers, prosecutors, mental health professionals, and corporate security experts. Now, let's proceed to another topic, developing instruments to assess personality. Tools such as logic, theory, and data reduction methods like factor analysis are frequently used in the process of personality tests. Another tool is also used in the development process called criterion group. And most personality tests employ two or more of these tools in the course of their development. In psychology, when it comes to writing items for a personality test, logic and reason is used. Logic and reason may dictate what content is covered by the items. So it is sometimes referred to as the content or content-oriented approach to test development. Example, if you were developing a true or false test of extroversion, logic and reason might dictate that one of the items might be something like, I consider myself as an outgoing person. Efforts to develop such content-oriented, face-valid items can be traced at least as far as back as an instrument used to screen World War I recruits for personality in adjustment problems. The personal data sheet, known as the Woodworth Psychoneurotic Inventory, contained items designed to elicit self-report of fears, sleep disorders, and other problems deemed symptomatic of a pathological condition referred to then as psychoneuroticism. The greater the number of problems reported, the more psychoneurotic the respondent was presumed to be. Clinically actionable information can be collected from this kind of report instruments in just a little time, provided that the test taker is honest and sincere to his or her answers. In this digital age, a computerized report of the findings can be readily available in minutes. Moreover, a highly trained professional is not required for administration in this test. Another possible tool in test development, sometimes even the guiding force, is psychological theory. Personality measures differ in the extent to which they rely on a particular theory of a personality in their development as well as their interpretation. Example, if psychoanalytic theory was the guiding force behind the development of a new test designed to measure antisocial personality disorder, there will be items or even the interpretation showing that this is made from a psychoanalytic perspective. Development of tests using logic and reason, research, clinical experience, or even the opinions of experts might also be used in the development of a personality test that is theory-based. Data reduction method is another tool used in contemporary test development. Data reduction methods include several types of statistical techniques, collectively known as factor analysis or cluster analysis. One use of data reduction method in the design of personality measures is to aid in the identification of the minimum number of variables or factors that account for the intercorrelations in observed phenomena. Raymond Bernard Cattell reviewed previous research by Allport and Adbert, which suggested that there were more than 18,000 personality trait names and terms in the English language. However, Out of these 18,000, only about a quarter were real traits of personality. Cuttle added to the list some trait names and terms employed in the professional psychology and psychiatric literature, and then had judges rate just distinguishable differences between all the words. The result reduced the size of the list to 171 trait names and terms. College students were asked to rate their friends with respect to these trait names and terms, and the factor analyzed results of that rating further reduced the number of names and terms to 36, which Cattell referred to as surface traits. More research indicated that 16 basic dimensions of source traits could be distilled. In 1949, Cattell's research culminated in the publication of a test called the 16 Personality Factor or 16PF. The revised Neo-Personality Inventory or Neo-PIR is widely used in both clinical applications in a wide range of research that involves personality assessment. Based on a 5-dimension or factor model of personality, the Neo-PIR is a measure of 5 major dimensions of personality in a total of 30 elements or facets that define each domain. The Neo-PIR provides for the measurement of 5 domains: agreeableness and conscientiousness, neuroticism, extraversion, and openness. It is designed for use with persons 17 years of age and older and essentially self-administered. Computerized scoring and interpretations are also available. The Neo-PIR provides for the measurement of 5 domains. Neuroticism domain, referred to as the emotional stability factor, taps aspects of adjustment and emotional stability, including how people cope in times of emotional turmoil. Extraversion domain taps aspects of sociability, how proactive people are in seeking out others, as well as assertiveness. Openness, also referred to as the intellect factor, refers to openness to experience as well as active imagination, aesthetic, sensitivity, attentiveness to inner feelings, preference for variety, intellectual curiosity, and independence of judgment. Agreeableness is primarily a dimension of interpersonal tendencies that include altruism, sympathy toward others, friendliness, and the belief that others are similarly inclined. Conscientiousness is a dimension of personality that has to do with the active process of planning, organizing, and following through. Each of these major dimensions or domains of personality may be subdivided into individual traits or facets that measured with the Neo-PIR. Psychologists have found value in using these dimensions to describe a wide range of behavior attributable to personality.